Hello again. The mics are back on, and this is Radio Entrepreneurs. Again, my name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm host of Radio Entrepreneurs, also chairman of the board of MAGE LLC, management consulting firm. And this is a special edition of Radio Entrepreneurs in the Weeds. That means to my right is the one, the only, the indomitable Walter Sullivan.
I just had to make sure I was on your right, Jeffrey. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
The weed is flying today.
You're not taking any weed. I know you.
You're correct.
Yeah, that's not you. I want to thank our friends over at Gordon's Liquors in Waltham who hosted Radio Entrepreneurs Cafe this previously or recently, and we had a great time, a lot of fun. For those of you who know, every quarter we put on the Radio Entrepreneurs Cafe. Please join us, no charge. Got to sign up first, though. That's the key. Walter Sullivan did not show up, as usual. It was in the wrong day in his date book. All right, our next guest, Shari Berman, co-founder Flower and Tonic. Wow.
Yes.
Are you going to tell us about it?
Yes, I will tell you about Flower and Tonic. So recently I partnered with Alyssa Merrill, who has a background in the pharmaceutical industry. I have a background in patient advocacy, and we have created a platform that educates consumers on how to use plant medicine as an alternative or adjunct to pharmaceuticals. And we are focusing specifically now on the hemp plant, which contains cannabidiol, or what most people know as CBD.
Right.
And our intent is to help navigate through a pretty chaotic CBD market. As you know, CBD is everywhere at this point. I mean,
and you find it in every store now, and you just don't know what you're taking.
Right. So,
or how much.
My father, who lives in Florida, who's 90 years old, called me and said, "Oh, there's selling CBD in the deli that I have breakfast in."
Jeez, what deli's that?
Why are they doing that? I don't know.
Come on, what deli?
I don't know. I'll have to go back to him and find out. But
Flakowitz. Bagel with real schmear.
Yeah, exactly. So you find it everywhere. You find it in the gas station.
Yes.
Beauty salons now are offering
Seen it there too.
CBD manicures or CBD massages.
Right.
And I think the reality is that CBD is not regulated. The CBD market's not regulated, just like supplements. And so the other reality is 60 to 70% of all CBD products that are tested are actually mislabeled. Some don't have the CBD that they are supposed to have. Some have more CBD than they've labeled, and many don't even have CBD in them. And so how are people going to choose what's best for them when they could potentially be basically overpaying for a product that is, like a Bengay?
Overdiagnosing, over-medicating, under-medicating, who knows?
Yeah.
Now, Shari, explain your background and how you got into this and why.
And then we want to know how you help people to do this.
Yes. So I have an interesting background. I started in human resources for years, and then I moved into this sort of patient leader role because I've had cancer twice. I was diagnosed when I was 25, 3 days after I got back from my honeymoon with Hodgkin's disease. And then again, 8.5 years later with breast cancer at age 33, which is a result of the radiation that I had for the Hodgkin's. So I had this history of being in and out of doctors' offices and hospitals and treatments and things like that. And then my mother was diagnosed shortly after my breast cancer diagnosis. She was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and I was her advocate, and she passed away a year later. And so
Was she a smoker?
So she smoked.
Because a lot of cancer people I know nowadays aren't smokers.
I mean, technically they might have called her smoker, but she had smoked, in the early days, like in college, and then quit. So I never knew her as a smoker. She hadn't smoked in 35 years. But she was diagnosed really like out of the blue, and it was tragic. And I think because what sort of pushed me into the patient advocacy world was that She could have been treated a lot better than she was. And I just was kind of just up in arms about some of the ways they approached her treatment. And so I decided to get involved. I ran the Adult Patient Family Advisory Council at Dana-Farber for 3 years. I was part of that council for 6 years, which is really about bringing the patient voice to the table in partnership with the hospital staff.
It's a good background.
And then I did some work with the National Academy of Medicine in that same realm. And then I've done work with the Barrel Institute, which is a community who is focused on improving the patient experience. So I have a lot of background in this patient experience
Bet you
work.
didn't
How
know,
did you
Walter,
take
she
that,
had all
yeah,
that
you know?
experience. I bet you didn't know she had all that experience.
Nice to have experience. Now, how did you? So now, what you're doing is using that patient advocacy to become a consumer advocate, helping people with CBD. How did you end up getting in?
So the way that I got
Very
into
transferable
this,
skills.
Yeah, there's a couple ways that I got into it. So go back a little bit. So when I had cancer the first time, even back then, which is in 1989, there was talk about if you smoke pot, it can help with nausea. And I approached my doctors about it, and they said to me, "Oh, we have an anti-nausea drug, just take that," which I did, and it made me feel like I was going to jump out of my skin, and it didn't really help with the nausea, but that's what I did. The second time around, when I had breast cancer, they said, "Oh, we have a better anti-nausea drug," which I took, and it really, same kind of thing, really bad side effects for me. And so a friend of mine, gave me a joint to smoke. And I was really not a pot smoker at all, but I tried it, and it was amazing. I immediately felt better. My nausea went away, my appetite came back, I felt amazing. And I only did it twice. I probably should have done it more, but that's what I did it back then. There was stigma and everything else around it. But since that time, I've always been an advocate for trying alternative therapies, whether it be acupuncture or Reiki or massage or whatever. And so when medical marijuana came to Massachusetts, I was supportive of it because of those reasons. And I went through the process of getting a card. And then I wrote about my experience in an article on Stat News and the Boston Globe about sort of the disconnect between this medical side and the doctors, that there's not a collaboration between the two. And were we really ready for this medical piece when we're not collaborating with our doctors? And CBD in particular...
So you found a void in the system.
A void in the system. So CBD in particular has been sort of a pet peeve of mine because of the fact that if it comes from the hemp plant, it's accessible to everyone. You don't have to have a medical card. People can get it off the shelf, as we discussed. They can get it on the internet. And I know so many people that are just picking up products and potentially overpaying because, like I said, we don't really know what's in them. And so I felt like I need to advocate for people to really educate them on if you're going to try CBD, you need someone to help you navigate through the process, or, you could be making mistakes if you are taking certain medications that it interacts with, or if you're not dosing properly, or if you're taking a product that has pesticides or metals or things like that you're not even aware of. And so I met Alyssa Merrill, who, like I said, has this pharmaceutical background. And her approach was, let's approach the CBD problem in terms of science and sort of a pharmaceutical approach, which means let's go out and test for the purity, the formulation of the product on our own. Let's not rely on third-party testing, which sometimes can be a problem, especially in an unregulated environment. So she took products off the shelf and went to a lab and actually tested these products. And then we put together a protocol of how we would recommend products based on not only the testing results, but on the company's intention, the packaging, the taste, how they're educating people. So that's kind of how I kind of moved into this space, but
Wow.
I feel like there's a need for patient advocacy for sure.
Very interesting story, Shari, and I wish we had more time. Maybe you're going to have to come back without Walter. Okay.
I like
Everyone
Walter.
always wants me gone.
I like Walter.
You must be
I'll
talking
keep
to my
him.
wife.
Well, you should come back with Walter. I like people who bring a low bar. But if people
Height-wise, too?
but if people are looking for you and looking for your assistance, how would they find you?
So our website right now is called flowerandtonic.com. We're it's up and running, but we're in the process of just making it better and more usable. But on that website, we will have recommended products. We will have an education component. We'd like to try to tie specific products to specific conditions. So, like if you're
And
having
how
trouble
will you
getting
make your
sleep-
revenue before we run? You're going to be doing this, or is it all just for the public good?
So we are working on our revenue model. We do the products that we recommend we have an affiliate relationship with. So we would get a portion of the profit for the product that was sold. We're looking into other revenue models though as well in terms of
Good
doing
housekeeping
coaching and
seal of
counseling.
approval model. They used to make money from
So,
that.
I mean, we need to make money to be able to keep our website
Sustainability.
up. It's unbelievable. I mean, we need a social media person. We need, and we're doing that ourselves right now, but we'd like to be able to really take it to the level that we want it to be at. And unfortunately, you need money to do that. So, one last thing I do want to say is we're balancing out. We're not going to publicize brands that we don't support, that we think aren't good brands just because we can get a higher percentage. This is really all about doing the right thing.
Well, everybody, with the help of Walter Sullivan, we've been speaking with Shari Berman. Check it out, Flower and Tonic, and we're going to bring her back again. Remind everybody, this is Radio